The villains in Futurama's ensemble are filled with well-known figures, but the show's most tragic new character was only unveiled in Season 12. Many of the most famous villains from the Futurama revival have returned to the forefront in Hulu's 2 seasons, and they're just as crazy and hilarious as ever. The new villain on Futurama Season 12 doesn't, however, receive the same outrageous treatment instead. His backstory is significantly more depressing than that of any other villain from the show's 12 seasons combined. The third episode of Futurama Season 12 opens mysteriously, even though it's just another typical day in the Planet Express office. The viewer can't help but notice that Fry has been replaced by a whole different character, even though Leela, Bender, Farnsworth, and the other characters appear to be unaware of anything amiss. The newest antagonist of Futurama Season 12 is introduced for the first time. His past may elicit sympathy from viewers of the show. He is a remarkably strong force of evil. Beginning with a flashback to 23 years ago, Futurama's Season 12, Episode 3 picks up right after the conclusion of the previous season's episode, Amazon Women in the Mood. Fry chooses to take a vacation due to the horrific events of the episode, and the Planet Express crew decides to hire a temporary employee to cover for him for a few weeks. Frank is a temporary employee they finally hire, and despite his distant demeanor suggesting he doesn't love his work, he soon grows to love it to the point of villainy. Eventually, it is revealed that Frank has the entire Planet Express crew under his hypnotic control, believing himself to be Fry by the time Futurama Season 12, Episode 3 begins. Frank has been living with Bender, dating Leela, and wearing Fry's clothes for the past 6 weeks, entirely replacing Fry. None of the Planet Express crew members are aware that Frank has surreptitiously left the real Fry on a barren planet covered with trash books. Frank's plot is eventually foiled, and it is then that his actual intentions become apparent. Futurama Season 12, Episode 3 takes a bit to piece together Frank's past, but when it does, it presents him as an immensely tragic villain. Frank has been a temporary worker for his whole life, and he has detested every job he has had. He feels forgotten and hopeless whenever he is with other employees, but it's during his time at Planet Express that Frank discovers happiness for the first time. He enjoys his profession, even if the team frequently ignores him. Frank assigns the crew the duty of removing several books from a public library and leaving them on a barren planet on one of his first deliveries. Frank is abandoned by the Planet Express crew when they discard the books. After being abandoned for 23 years, Frank is forgotten completely. The protagonists finally come to the realization that they forgot about the temp after the Futurama chronology catches up to Season 12, and they return to the planet to check on his survival. Frank used the books to acquire hypnotism during the grueling 23 years of seclusion, which helped him to survive. He hypnotizes everyone after rejoining the Planet Express crew and discovering that, despite ruining his life, they still can't recall his name. He makes the Planet Express crew believe that he is Fry and forces them to leave Fry behind. This plot is carried out for 6 weeks until the gang realizes something is up and foils it. Frank is a unique character in Hulu's Futurama revival because he is an entirely new original enemy. Few new characters are introduced to Futurama in Seasons 11 and 12, with the majority of the cast returning from previous seasons. Some narratives now seem a little repetitious as a result of this, but developing fresh narratives around fresh characters like Frank can make Hulu's Futurama Resurrection stand out from the previous seasons, and this is something that should carry over into the next seasons of the program. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.